Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We've got some pretty interesting news to talk about in regards to organized play and potentially a big change to how store championships occur or whether they will occur at all. We're going to talk about what we know due to this big leak and what it could mean for the future of Worlds Invites and even other games like X-Wing and Armada. If you guys are new here to the channel, we talk a lot about Star Wars and tabletop games, and I'd love to have you stick around. We got links down in the video description below if you want to jump in our Discord and chat there, or social media links and all of that good stuff. Plus, we are doing a new round of the giveaway right now for a $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter to win that is to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. I want to hear from you guys what your thoughts are on what this change could mean for Star Wars Legion in your community, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm going to focus on what we know, and then I'll extrapolate a little bit more on what I think it might mean, because I want to start with the facts first. So we are expecting an organized play announcement from AMG within the next couple of weeks, but until that time, this was a leak that has shown up on Reddit. Reportedly, this was taken from a retailer site that Asmodee had shared with them. It gives retailers an opportunity to get an idea of what organized play and what those OP kits are going to look like. Well, we usually get OP kits every year. There's definitely were some hiccups for a little bit with the transition, but we had them last year for Legion, for X-Wing, for Armada. Very cool stuff. They had Worlds invites that were associated with them, and if you won your store championship, you could then you got your invite into Worlds. It was a pretty cool stuff. This is a little bit of a change from that, because this is called a 2024 store tournament kit. Notice the change of the name. It's no longer a store championship kit. It's now a store tournament kit. They went on to talk about how this does not include a Worlds invite. That could be a good or a bad thing. We'll talk more about that and what that means a little bit later on. But this was definitely promoted to retailers with language similar to like that they have a lot of flexibility to do with this what they want to do. And this can be everything from from normal organized play events, whether it's just a casual game night or a tournament or a painting night or scenarios or whatever it is. It sounds like they're going to give retailers a little bit more discretion on how they want to run this. It's enough to support over 32 players if they want to run it for a bigger event or to break it apart into smaller events. And presumably will feature at least one alternate art Ahsoka Tano print based on the art on the box. So I'm guessing there's probably more than just that, but that's definitely a thing. So what does this mean? Well, there's a whole lot of speculation I can make. But that's basically the facts, that this is a leak that came out, and we're going to see this. We're going to get more information soon. So if you're not interested in speculation, or if you want to hear, what I think about it, that's the bulk of it. Now, we got to talk about the speculation. We got to talk about what this could mean. Now, first thing is, what does this mean for X-Wing and Armada? The short answer is we have no idea, because just because this was leaked, it doesn't mean anything about the other games. We have no idea. This could have just been a sample. There could be very, very similar kits for all of the games, or maybe not. We don't know. So I don't want to jump into the speculation wagon on those games as much, because we really have no information at all regarding that. But we will soon. What I can speculate on is what this means for Worlds. I think this means there will be less Worlds invites going out. I think there's a couple of ways that you can look at this. I think that if you have bigger events, like let's just say Nova, for example, right? Nova is a big one. Gen Con tournament, or LVO is another really big tournament. Big tournaments like that happen. And UK Games Expo, I think, has a big one, right? Like they're so I don't want to just quote American tournaments. There are big tournaments that happen all throughout the world, but I'm more familiar with most of the American ones. You have these big events and then sometimes these big events have had more than one Worlds invite or whatever. But if you think about it, the store championship has has a Worlds invite, you're more likely to get people who may not be able to attend Worlds, or maybe they can, or maybe they just got kind of lucky with a certain meta that comes that particular day or whatever. It's not always indicative of everything that you're going to see. But I think if you took something like LVO and you gave like the top 16 each a Worlds invite, in a tournament that has like, over 100 players or something like that, that probably would get you a pretty good representation. Now, granted, you can change the quality of Worlds invites, right? In the past, there's been different qualities of Worlds invites. There's been like the Worlds invites that, hey, this just gets you in the door versus this gets you an all expense paid trip to Worlds, right? Or and stuff like that. Like they've had different perks that come with like winning at a higher level event as opposed to a store championship. But there was also a lot of drama that came to that with everything from, I think there was some confusion over invites and what was going to be honored because of the pandemic, and there were like older World invites that didn't get there was a whole lot of that, and I believe there was also some drama over, well, hey, you had the World's the tournament regs said you had to have at least 16 people, and we only had 15 people, but we didn't tell you that we weren't going to honor that until after your tournament had already occurred. So this person already won, but then their invite is revoked and things like that. I've heard like all kinds of like horror stories about like drama with the World's invites under the old system. So my takeaway is this could be a good thing for World's invites. We don't even know if there will be World's invites, though. It's entirely possible that they could totally change how they approach who can come to Worlds. Presumably, it could be that it's first come, first serve. It could be a thing where everybody who's able to get to Adepticon that wants to play can play, and then the number of entrants will determine the specifications of the tournament. It's entirely possible that they could have a very different system, or it could be a lottery-based system. There's an awful lot of open possibilities on how things could be different. It's also entirely possible that there could be multiple kits. Like this one could be more of a casual OP kit, and there could also be a store championships that's a secondary kit. Now, I don't really think that that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. But it is possible. I wouldn't bet that that's the case. I would bet that they're saying, look, local store level championships should be a little lower stress, and so we're not going to attach the World's invite to these kits. That's my guess. And I think that if so, that could be potentially a very good thing for a number of reasons. And I think it has pros and cons. But I'm going to talk about some of the pros first. I think one of the obvious pros is it gives stores more flexibility. They can have smaller events if they want to. I think another pro that ties into that last one is that what if your store doesn't have 16 players? What if you can't get 16 players? Maybe you're kind of remotely located and you've got 6 to 8 at best. Well, now you can run a tournament and support it with prize support, and you probably have enough in here to run multiple tournaments and support for maybe your next 4 or 5, 6 tournaments, however, depending on the number of players that you have. And so that's also very cool. The fact, another thing that is good for the casual, the more casual friendly or casual / competitive, if you're, kind of like where I like to play. I like to do competitive events, but I like to still play. I like to keep it casual. I like to keep it friendly and not too serious and loosey-goosey. The loosey-goosey players out there like me that might still want to play in a tournament, but without all the stress of like, oh my God, if I don't win, I don't get to go to Worlds, It's just a regular tournament. The stakes are pretty low. Maybe more people will come out to those tournaments because it can be a little more loosey-goosey. You can be a little bit like, I just want to bring something that's not competitive, but I'm going to have fun with it if I'm going to play like 3 games this day or something like that. So I think there's definitely a lot of options that this kind of opens up. Now, on the downside, it could be that a store that was getting like 16 or more players, 32 or more players, people driving in from all over the place, might not have the same pull. If there's no Worlds invite attached to this kit, players may not want to travel as far for a store tournament. That's definitely possible as well. And I think that trade-off for that could be okay. I'd still lean a little bit more towards this as possibly good news rather than bad news. Because, again, there are pros and cons. Could be that maybe you can't get to one of the big events. If they're going to change it to where Worlds invites are only attached to the high level tournaments, this might have been your only chance to get a Worlds invite if you can't go to LVO or any of these other big events. That's entirely possible. There may not be a big tournament in your area that you can go to. I mean, that was a problem I had for a long time. I was always like wishing that there was like some kind of LVO that was closer or something like that. It is what it is. I remember plenty of times thinking, well, if I win the store championship or if I get the Worlds invite, then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I can go to Worlds. And that's cool. And I think that was definitely the line of thinking there. And maybe that, for that person who is in that sort of set of shoes, maybe they're not going to be able to have that same opportunity. So there is a couple of trade-offs, but I think overall this allows more stores to have a wider variety of events that can still be competitive events, but that don't have the same stakes, and that are also subject to a lot less drama. I would also presume that this will be the same methodology moving forward for Armada and X-Wing. This isn't just a Legion video. This is, I'm talking about just organized play as a whole. And so I think that can be a fun thing. I like the idea of having more prize support, getting more people in stores playing these games. I think it's groovy. I think it's fun. And I think it also can give you a better representation of the people who can travel to tournaments. Imagine if you were somebody who, didn't quite win a store championship, and maybe you're a very, very good player. Maybe you're a potential world champion, but you just fell short in the meta, and maybe you went to LVO and you went to, maybe you went to multiple big tournaments and you just didn't quite make that top cut that would have gotten you a Worlds invite. But you were just this close. So now if they're able, and that's somebody who is more likely, again, if you're a traveling tournament player, you're probably more likely to be able to go to Worlds. And so if you expand on the high level, the premier level events, if you expand it to like, the top 16 here can all get Worlds invites, and then also open up like a last chance qualifier and stuff like that. You can do a little bit of both. And so I am anxious to see what they're going to announce for organized play. I'd like to see more common sense Worlds invites going out, lower drama, more flexibility for stores, but also make sure that people who want to go to Worlds that didn't have one of these still have an opportunity to. I love the idea of those last chance qualifier events. It's a fun way to make sure that everybody's included, at least in some way, shape, or form. It can be a fun thing to do. But that's some of my takes. I want to hear some of your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you think about the change in store championship to now just being store tournament kit. Is it even that big of a deal? I don't know if it is. I think it's a good thing. I think it could make common sense, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this channel possible. Thank you so much for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. The spice must flow, so say we all. And always wash your socks.